Hello and welcome back to Disruptive Philosophy. My name is Brittany and this is my channel where I talk about philosophy and psychology from the viewpoint of an anarchist. This is part 2 of my breakdown on how Bamarush is just the modern monarchy court, or Bridgerton. In part 1, we discussed how public education is the sorting system for America's class and racial hierarchies, the rules and goals for Greek life, what the perfect characteristics are of a woman in a sorority, and a lot more. So if you haven't watched part 1, I would suggest you go back and watch part 1 before you continue with this video, and then come back and check out the second half. If you enjoy my content, please do all the YouTube things, like, subscribe, share, and comment down below how you feel about this and how you felt about my analysis of Bamarush and Bridgerton. And if you don't like this content, just go ahead and comment down below and let me know how much you didn't like it, because that helps the algorithm. So I filmed this little intro part because I did not know that this video I was filming was going to be so long. It was going to be over 2 hours. So I've had to film this little intro separate, just in case you notice that I have a different outfit on in the rest of the video and the lighting might be a little bit different. But we will be picking right back up where we left off from part 1, discussing the secret society within Greek life at Bama State called the Machine. Roll those title cards and let's get back into it.
If you thought Bamarush was crazy, just wait until you hear about the Machine.
Burglary, cross-burning, vandalism.
You are deep into it, and you have found out about the Machine. Congratulations.
It's a secret society. I believe the phrase was little is known and what is known is secret. Something very similar to that.
So the Machine is the Greek system. They go synonymous, they're hand in hand, it's the exact same thing. They control everything on this campus. So if there's an election, the Machine's rigging it. If there's a homecoming queen, it's the Machine candidate. You're gonna look at awards, different jobs and networks, it's all going to Machine kids that run their own thing. Even the most trivial things like football seats, it's going to Machine kids. Every Greek house that's a member of the Machine, each have Machine representatives. These representatives form a council that meets in fraternity basements to discuss student politics, and then they report back to their house and their student politicians within those houses and tell them how to vote.
I'm asking myself, well, what have I got myself into? Because I'm like, number one, why are we meeting in a basement? Number two, why are we meeting at 10, 11 o'clock at night on a Tuesday? What are we hiding? The individual leading the meeting, he was like, this is just an opportunity for you to see each other's faces, just like the group of people you're going to be working with. Up until that point, I didn't understand that I was essentially going to be a figurehead that was going to do what my Machine rep told me to do. And every time I did something that she wanted me to do, I always received positive feedback and I always received praise. Like in that moment, I felt like I was doing something good, but I really wasn't doing anything at all except being a puppet.
The Machine systematically made sure that a minority group on campus of elite people who got special treatment, who lived in special homes, who came from the most affluent and powerful families, got an advantage on everyone else. It's a way better teacher of how to do nefarious things for power than you could ever get in a political science class. But I think it's a threat to people's hopes and dreams, that they may not be able to fit into the crowd and maybe the tax bracket they want to fit into. I think the danger is not belonging. It's not being one of the chosen people.
Little is known and what is known is secret. One of the rules of being part of the Machine. No talking to media, no spilling the elite's secrets, no showing what goes on behind closed doors. That's what that means. Little is known and what is known is secret. So don't know too much. Don't know more than you need to know. And also know that it's supposed to be a secret. So keep your filthy fucking mouth shut about everything. Like about all the sexual assault going on. One happened to one of the subjects of this documentary during filming this documentary, as well as one of the other subjects said that she had gotten drugged the night before, and they talked about it way too casually. Way too casually. The Machine is the collective secret society council that are the people who truly run Greek society. The Machine consists of the kids from the most elite, wealthiest, and already in power families, most likely the alumni's children. Yeah, a lot of those alumni, yeah, they're going to be in that. As well as our future politicians and CEOs. It's actually really important if you want to get into politics. There is like a whole system within the education system of which schools and which sororities you need to be a part of to have access to certain governmental positions. There's literally an outline for if you want to be president, right? There's a few track lines. You've got to make those decisions when you're 18 if you want to be president, because where you went to school really matters, and being able to network with the right people to be able to be that big of a deal that you would ever be able to become the emperor of the president of the United States. So it's most likely filled with alumni's. It's most likely filled with alumni's children. Again, this is the aspect. It's going to be a representative council of people who make all the decisions about Greek life and Greek government on these campuses. The representatives are literally called senators, which is going to be coming from Greece and Roman society structures. This council makes all the decisions for Greek life and are the people who benefit the most from this societal structure. Being a representative for the machine is a step up in the power grab ladder. You don't like apply to be a representative for the machine. You are scouted, right? And then scouted and scouted and scouted and then approached. They control campus life as far as voting, the student government, parties, ranking system, and who gets away with what. I mean, literally for king and queen, they pass down who's going to vote. I believe that there are probably structures like this at every major college that has any sort of Greek society. And again, the point of having the machine is to replicate the aspect that you can be in the elite, but then there is like an elite within the elite, right? There's never not a hierarchical class structure. There's never not a hierarchical structure where someone is probably in power above you, all the way up to the President of the United States. The goal of this is to educate the elite within the elite on how to manipulate in nefarious ways your power so that you can be successful once you graduate college, because that's what capitalism is. It's teaching them how to be a better capitalist, how to build power, how to manipulate power, how to move power. I'm sure people are probably going to watch this video, and if you're in any sort of activist spaces, you're like, but power is good. We want power, right? We talk about being empowered. Women need more power. No. You should be seeking love, not power. Love, not power. Love, not power. I'm going to say it again. Love, not power. Love, not power. Love, not power. Do I need to take you to church? Hallelujah. It's love, not power. You should seek love, not power. You will be much happier. So number one issue and problem with society and capitalism is that it almost forces some of us to seek power over love. And power can equate for anything: status, money, car, jobs, different things in society. You should be seeking love. If we all just stopped and started seeking love, like, we would solve so many problems. From the perspective of capitalism, I'm sure it does look like, oh, well, then I need to gain power so then I can save people, right? I need to be powerful so that I can then take down this powerful government, right? And I don't think that's right. I think that's the deeper level of anti-capitalist anarchy and communism is like, oh no, we need to seek love and not power, because the seeking of power is what creates these toxic, unconsensual, hierarchical, oppressive systems. Yeah. I think that's how I wanted to say that. Yeah. The danger in not being one of the chosen people, like to not belong within these structures, right? So you've gotten chosen to be like part of the whole, court system, right? You're a lord, you're a lady, right? You have your duke, whatever else, right? But then there's another structure within that structure, right? The people who have the most power, the most money, the most influence. The children of those people are going to be the people who are running this machine. If you are not in that machine, but you are still in Greek life, you are what I'm going to call an echo. You are an echo of this kind of collective narcissistic unit. And I'm bringing that up because we are going to touch on that more in this video. But I wanted to mention that here because it's really important. Being an echo to a narcissist or to a narcissistic unit is directly connected to like what narcissism is. And this concept of Narcissus and echo, which is a story from Greek mythology, I'm going to mention it here in a second. This concept is like going to be really, really important to understand what is actually going on in capitalism, because they're directly connected. It's kind of crazy, but like people have already figured out how to overthrow capitalism even before Marx wrote shit. Like, it's literally what philosophy is. Like, philosophy was created by Socrates and Plato because they were like, oh, this little society that's just seeking power, that's not going to work in the long run, right? And so they created thought and philosophy and dialogue and all of their ideas to try to help people live a noble life, a good life, be a good man, because they saw these people being power-hungry demons. Let's real quick add into this video, quick version of the story of Narcissus and Echo. The myth of Echo and Narcissus. Echo and Narcissus are characters in a myth from Ovid's Metamorphoses, a Roman mythological epic from the Augustan age. The introduction of the myth of the mountain nymph Echo into the story of Narcissus. The myth of the goddess is told in Book 3 of the Metamorphoses and tells the story of a talkative nymph named Echo, whom the goddess Venus admires for her magnificent voice and song. Venus is a Roman goddess whose function encompasses love, beauty, desire, sex, fertility, prosperity, and victory. She is similar to the Greek goddess Aphrodite. Jupiter, the god of the sky and thunder, and king of the gods in ancient Roman religion and mythology, thought to be very similar to Greece's Zeus or the Norse gods Odin and Thor. Jupiter had been seen in the wooded mountains by the nymph Echo, cheating on his wife Juno. Juno was an ancient Roman goddess, the protector and special counselor of the state. She was equated to Hera, queen of the gods, in the Greek mythology and goddess of love and marriage. When Echo tricks Juno into believing that her husband Jupiter was in the city and not in the forest, Juno curses Echo by making her unable to initiate a spoken sentence of her own, and instead able only to, in speech, finish a sentence started by someone else. Yet a chatterbox had no other use of speech than she has now, that she could repeat only the last words of many, said Juno. Sometime after being cursed, Echo spied a young man, Narcissus, while he was out hunting deer with his companions. Narcissus was a hunter from Thespia, who was known for his beauty, which was noticed by all, regardless of gender. Echo immediately fell in love with Narcissus, and infatuated, she followed him quietly. The more she looked at the young man, the more she longed for him. Though she wished with all her heart to call out to Narcissus, Juno's curse prevented her. During the hunt, Narcissus became separated from his companions and called out, "Is anyone there?" Immediately he heard the nymph Echo repeat his words back to him. "Is anyone there?" Startled, Narcissus answered the voice, "Come here," only to be told the same, "Come here." When Narcissus saw that nobody had emerged from the glade, he concluded that the owner of the voice must be running away from him and called out again. Finally, Narcissus shouted, "This way, we must come together." Taking this to be reciprocation of her love, Echo concurred enthusiastically, "We must come together." In her delight, Echo rushed to Narcissus, ready to throw her arms around her beloved. Narcissus, however, was appalled and, spurning her, exclaimed, "Hands off! May I die before you enjoy my body." All Echo could whisper in reply was, "Enjoy my body." And having done so, she fled, scorned, humiliated, and shamed. Despite the harshness of his rejection, Echo's love for Narcissus only grew. Echo's fellow nymphs prayed to Nemesis to punish Narcissus with a love that was equally not as reciprocated. Nemesis, also known as Rhamnosia, was a Greek goddess the Romans adopted who personifies retribution for the sin of hubris, arrogance before the gods. Nemesis caused Narcissus to fall in love with his own reflection in a pool of water, where he wasted away and died, unable to take his eyes away from the beautiful youth he did not recognize as himself. Narcissus looked one last time into the pool and uttered, "O marvelous boy, I loved you in vain. Farewell." Echo too chorused, "Farewell." Eventually, Echo too began to waste away. Though she was immortal, her body faded, and her bones turned to stone, until all that remained of Echo was the sound of her voice. Farewell. Echo lost her voice, right? Echo lost her voice, and she could only echo the narcissist. And that is what enablers around narcissists are. They are echoes. I'm going to start using that terminology more on this channel, right? You have narcissist and you have echoes. This is very important because this is how the capitalist society is set up. You have to know how all the nuance and psychology and philosophy behind how capitalism works if you want to learn, if you want to figure out how to bring it down. So you need to understand that, like, yes, most people in these elite groups of people are probably narcissists. Narcissist. They probably are. If there's more siblings in their family, we'll get into the whole narcissistic unit and a little bit later. I'm more than halfway done with this video, I swear. There are other roles within that type of structure and a narcissistic like unit, collective unit. And some of those are like the scapegoat, right? Enablers would be the echoes, right? Or also like the favorite, right? Or the golden child, right? Or their main codependent. Another concept that we will be talking a lot about on this channel moving forward is that if you are a narcissist, you are considered a dependent. You're considered dependent. And if you are the enabler or like the right-hand person to the narcissist, you are considered a codependent. And that is actually what a codependent relationship is. When I finally learned that, I was like, oh my God, this is what we've been saying. I feel like you're codependent, right? You're literally saying, I feel like you're an echo to this Narcissus, this other person, and you've lost your voice and don't know who you are, and you're just echoing this other person. So I told that whole story to go back to the fact that if you are not within the machine, if you're not part of the machine within Greek life or Greek society, then you are probably going to be an echo for the more powerful Narcissuses above you in this hierarchical structure, because that's how a hierarchical structure works. A hierarchical structure is really just like a narcissistic collective unit because it requires somebody at the top. One person at the top, and they hold most of the power. All right, let's get into the next section so then I can dive deeper into narcissistic collective units. Title card, title card, title card. Actually, apparently I just segued into the next section, which is collective narcissistic unit. Look at me. Instinctually just know what I'm supposed to be doing. So we have many different types of collective narcissistic units within a capitalist structure, okay? If you want to think of the biggest, most abstract one, it is the president and everybody else. The Senate are enablers, and all of us are also enablers because we continue to believe that he holds all of that power and he is the president, okay? That's basic fucking power philosophy in anarchism and communism. And then you can take that's the big abstract one, and then you can go all the way down to like a family of 4. That can also be a narcissistic collective unit. Things in between there, right, in society is all of our company structures, right? Typically there's one CEO, right? And then you have a board or an emperor and a senate, emperor and a senate, emperor and a senate. You're gonna see that a lot, right? President and a senate, president of Congress, parliament, right? There's just different words that they use it to fancy it up, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Most jobs are organized like this. Again, you have someone at the top and then a hierarchy down. If you're way down here at the bottom, you don't have any power up here on these other levels. This also works like this in school, right? You have a principal, then you have teachers, the Senate, emperor, senate, everybody else. Talked about, you see this in narcissistic family units. You also see this in social circles, right? It's a little less organized, but sadly, if people start paying attention to their social circles, there's probably more than one. See who likes to hold court.
I'm having trouble swallowing at the moment, Your Majesty.
I'd like to enjoy the music now. Oh yes, I love this music. I must dance.
We also see this in sports. On the football field, there's an emperor He is the quarterback, and then there is a Senate, which I think in this allegory would maybe be like the coaching staff, right? Because the coaching staff still has more power than like the defensive linemen, but the QB has a little bit more power than a lot of the coaching staff, which is kind of weird, right? Because you would think it would be the head coach. So I think that also is maybe something that comes up if we actually like got to psychoanalyze people behind the scenes that are on football teams, is that there's probably some power struggles between the head coach and the quarterback because of what that position, both those positions entitle, which is entitle you to be the emperor at the top. Basically, like, the defensive lineman is not calling an audible, right? So they're not the same levels of power. You see this structure, power structure, organizational structure, also in nonprofits, right? Where you have typically a president, right? Vice president, you have a board of directors, right? So you have an emperor and an assistant and a senate. Emperor, senate, everybody else. It is just replicated in microcosms and macrocosms in every aspect of capitalist society. Even if the person at the top is not a raging narcissist or narcissus, the position itself, being in that one position with all that power, is going to force most people to bend some of their value systems. And also, if you were seeking that position, you probably absolutely did not morally acquire that position. It's very rare that somebody does, right? Very rare. So there are a few different roles within a narcissistic collective unit. Like we said, you have emperor and the senate, or you have the main person at the top. And then you also have golden children or favorites. A great example of this, if you've ever actually seen the movie The Favorite, it's about Queen Anne and her favorite, and possibly they had a lesbian relationship together. It's a great example of being a golden child, even when you're not an actual, being a golden child or the favorite in a social group and not necessarily in a like narcissistic family unit, right? Where this person is your mother or your father. Narcissists, people in this power position, emperors, they're always going to have their favorite because it's the person that affirms them the most and makes them feel the most, worships them the most. And people who are suffering from narcissism, what narcissism really is genuine like self-hatred. It's I have no self. It's so much childhood trauma that a self wasn't able to be developed. And so this fantastical self in reality is created. So you have the favorite or the golden child. You also are going to have the scapegoat. I'm going to do another video specifically on scapegoating, but just very quickly, scapegoats traditionally going all the way back to ancient Jewish times. You would pick a goat, and that goat would be taken out of the city and sacrificed as a symbol to represent all of the sins and negative feelings and guilt and shame that people felt. They would project it into the goat. It was part of the ritual practice, and then they would kill the goat. They would sacrifice the goat. And so it was named the scapegoat. And I think that's a good story to explain exactly what happens to the scapegoat. A scapegoat is a person within this narcissistic unit that is there to take the blame for everything that goes wrong, no matter what. We scapegoat because we cannot deal with the truth. The narcissist will scapegoat someone because they cannot deal with the truth, or they will scapegoat a group of people. And that's all I'm going to talk about scapegoats, because I want to do a whole video on it and dive into that deeper, because it is a really interesting topic. And I grew up in a narcissistic family unit, and I am the scapegoat. Hi, here, alive and breathing. I made it. So those are going to be the two most important roles, other than the main narcissist in a narcissistic collective unit. Everyone else, if you are not those roles, everyone else is an echo or an enabler. Echo, enabler, or codependent. Sometimes they also become flying monkeys when it is time to turn heavily on that scapegoat. Send the flying monkeys. Send all the people that are going to tell the scapegoat, you don't know what you're talking about, and are going to continue to gaslight. So I'm sure some of you are now like, how the fuck did we get into abstract, collective, capitalist, narcissistic units when you were supposed to be comparing Bamarush to Bridgerton, but it's important because it's an aspect of societal control that is working within this Greek system. And I could tell that this was going on, and it was concerning because of a lot of the quotes that I got from these women. Some of these are shortened, right? Some of these are direct quotes, but I just want to share some of the things that some of these 18-year-old, 19-year-old women were talking about in their experience with dealing with Greek life or rushing. Some of them said, this is going to help me find my identity, right? So we're coming out of 18 years of being raised by our parents, and this person is admitting that they still don't know who they are at all. And I know that seems very normal, but in a society where there's good parenting and healthy parenting, I'm gonna say more like evolutionized, like evolutionarily parenting, like the way we were evolutionarily made to parent. If that was actually going on, then by 18, your child should absolutely have some form of their identity and not be seeking to find it through a bunch of other insecure 19, 20-year-old people. This is going to help me find my lifelong sister friends. They can't be your sister friends if some of them are going to be willing to betray you to move higher up in social statuses. Now, I'm not going to discount that people make authentic friends when they join fraternities or sororities. I'm just saying that's not actually the point. I get a high off of winning, and winning is about this performance. We're 18. This person has been competing in pageants, and winning probably is a way that they get love from their parents. I'm sorry. I know some people are going to watch this and be like, you do not have the right to psychoanalyze these. And yeah, I do. It's publicly out there. That's what YouTube is. Like, people on YouTube be out here saying all sorts of crazy, wild shit. And although what I'm saying may seem crazy and wild, if we were able to confirm it, I would stand by what I'm saying, and I would probably be proven that it was pretty accurate. Psychology is really just a study of patterns. We are unique individuals, but there are a lot of patterns that we repeat. I would rather have a guy tell me I was ugly than get dropped from a sorority. Oh, that's intense. I thought these women were my friends, and then they just dropped me. Because it's going to take a while to figure out which ones are really your friends and worth having as your friends. By the way, everything I'm talking about can happen outside of rushing in Greek life, and does, like I previously mentioned. It's just that this is the documentary that's interesting, and it's a good way to talk about these topics. I'm having a hard time finding someone who can really love me. And the person who said this also said, my parents love this side of me, and my friends love this other side of me, but I want someone who can love all of me. And that almost broke my fucking heart. I wanted to fucking cry. What do you mean your parents don't love all of you? What the fuck are we doing to these children? I don't like when people don't like me. Well, none of us really do, right? But that's not the environment you want to go into. You're a person, but you're a Sigma Kappa first. Bitch, what? If somebody said that to me while I was rushing, I would quit right there. I'd be like, wait, what? I'm sorry, what? I'm a Sigma Kappa before I'm even a human being? No, I'm sorry, Susan. I'm gonna have to quit. I'm sorry, Ashley. I'm done. It's branding. Who are you advertising to? Oh, future marriages, higher class statuses. It is branding. It's advertising. The people that hate on us and stereotype us are the mean ones. I'm not hating. This is a psychoanalysis. This is a psychology. I'm not hating. Again, there's nothing about that college life experience that I seeked out, and I did have the ability to do that if I wanted to, and I chose not to. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves. There shouldn't be that much pressure to party and socially hang out with your friends. You shouldn't be riddled with anxiety to go hang out with some friends or go to a meetup or a party. That's literally supposed to be the time where you relieve stress, right? Where you get to get away. And if that causes more pressure, What is the point of that? I would kill to look like any of my friends. I'm sure this sounds like a really big compliment, but this actually to me sounds psychotic. It's just too much. You would kill? You would kill? Like kill? Like kill, Becky? Like you would kill? Like you would kill to look like me? That's concerning. You're gonna skin me and wear me like last year's Versace? Like what's going on here? I would kill to look like any man. No. You know what you should want to kill for? To be yourself. To be able to be all of yourself in fucking reality out there all the time and not have to hide it or feel insecure about it. Am I not pretty or cool enough? Why don't they like me? And this was said after being rejected. This is also a place that a narcissistic unit, the narcissist at the top, they want you in a place where you don't feel accepted or affirmed. So you're constantly seeking that affirmation and acceptance. Right? And then they can constantly emotionally play with the dial on what day, what hour, what minute they might give you affirmation acceptance and what other day they're going to crush your soul by ignoring your existence. Everyone just talked about how cool it was to like rush, so I just like wanted to do it. You can hear that need to belong. I don't want people to hate us, which kind of sucks, this kind of projection, because like if you end up getting to the upper echelons of society, we are gonna hate you. It's like a sisterhood. It is not. I would never do some of the things that they do to people in sororities to my sister. The conversations really aren't that interesting. And that made me crack up because I think that was one of the most like real things that one of the subjects in the documentary actually said was that the conversations are not that interesting. They're not. If you can't talk about boys, drinking, like politics, religion, right? Like your family, if you can't talk about those things, a lot of the conversations are going to be boring. Because that's where like fun, subjective, like life stories are, right? That's what makes people interesting. Anyways, I want to have fun helping the community. It's not just Instagram posts and pretty girls. Well, it never is just that, right? It's never just that. But like I mentioned before, the helping the community and the charity is part of the performance so that the peasants don't riot when you live in your luxury and we serve you like slaves. Okay, I think we'll go ahead and move to the next section now. So here we go, okay? Here's just going to be the side by side. Now that I've set down all of that baseline information, here's the side-by-side versus comparison, Bridgerton, and the concept of Bridgerton. So when I say Bridgerton, I'm using that as an example because that's a piece of media that everyone can reference, but I'm talking about court, okay? I'm talking about that season in which women had to try to get married within royal court structures and systems. Bamarush. Let's go ahead and go down my list. All right, I'm gonna call it court. So this is gonna be court, right? Royal court versus Bamarush. I think in Bridgerton it's called like the Ton or something, but I don't know if that's specific to like England and Britain or not. So we're just going to call it court, the royal court. You are presented at court when you are of age. You present yourself to Greek life when you are of age, right? Of age in our current society. Should be 18. The women on Bridgerton are never supposed to be caught eating publicly. And the women at Bama are never supposed to be caught drinking in their letters. In Bridgerton, you have to keep your reputation pure and innocent and never be caught alone with a man. The woman is blamed. The man suffers some consequences too, but mostly the woman is blamed for being alone and not even do anything, just being in the wrong situation. I mean, it's probably the same intensity now as it was then, but like watching that documentary helped me realize how much sexual assault and rape behavior is not being reported because this Greek system is structured so that you would never report it, right? And if you did, there might be consequences. When a story about a sexual assault happening on campus comes out to the public, to the media, to the masses, again, that means that this structure has failed, especially if it's somebody of status. And I know there was a popular case 8 years ago. I don't like saying popular, it's so weird. Well-known case where literally in court they were like,
He's a young man. He has his whole life in front of him. We can't let this ruin his life.
yeah, because he like probably comes from a family with money, and the girl did not come from probably as high of status, or maybe she did, and maybe that's why he got caught. I don't know. I don't think he suffered really very many consequences, so I think that was probably something that leaked through. I imagine within this social structure that you have to keep fucking quiet or you'll be exiled. I mean, that is preparing them for the real world. So there's a social season, and during that season, there's balls, right? In the royal court or in Bridgerton, right? And in Bama, there's a social season in which you rush and there are mixers and parties. And it's really important because that's where you socialize so that you can up your social status. I wonder if they do the fans ever. You know, like in any of the like D1 schools or whatever, if they ever like take it back and like do one where they're like playing coy with the fans. Sorry, during that time they had fans. Bridgerton, there was like a whole protocol on how to use it and flirt with a little fan in front of your face and like let an eye out, you know. It's a whole thing. So in Bridgerton or in royal court, it is all about the dresses and it is all about the pomp and circumstance, right? And Bamarush, you can just replace dresses for OOTDs, outfits of the day, because it's really important. You need to be wearing designer. You need to show out. You need to be showing your best. This is a representation, like you are branding yourself and what you bring to the table, how you can benefit other people, what your class status is. Are you beautiful? Like, do you come from a good family name? Do you have money? Can you take me to Turk and Caicos in the summer? You know, how do you benefit me? Bridgerton, the royal family are the most powerful elite, have their own social structure within this already elite social structure. And in Alabama or in Greek life, you have things like the Machine or other secret societies that there are plenty of documentaries and information about. Bridgerton or that type of society, a lot of that is based on white European Western culture, and all of what we were talking about is also built on Western white society. Greece, Rome. In Bridgerton or court, the weeping and questioning of what did I do wrong? Why didn't I get, invited to the ball, or why didn't I get that proposal? That is very big. It's very dramatic. I think that it's something I've done my whole life as like a joke whenever I'm like feeling over emotional and I make a little joke and be like, I'm feeling like a woman, and I like fall out, right? That kind of thing. That is also happening at Bamarush, where there is a weeping and questioning over being dropped.
What? Oh my God, what did I do? Oh, where would my life be now? How do I show my face on campus again?
In Bridgerton, it's about the small talk. It's about being able to keep up a positive, fun time without actually saying anything, because you don't want to give out too much information. Bamarush, they are literally hiring coaches to help them practice learning how to small talk. Oh my God, fucking kill me. Like, that sounds like the worst thing ever. In Bridgerton and court, you don't want to come off as a woman who thinks too much, right? Who has too much going on behind here. I know in the second season of Bridgerton, it might seem like, oh, that's the way you get the baddest boys, by being like the smartest woman. And back then, it really had to do with how much money your family had. So, not as important.
Ladies, hurry with your miniatures before our guest arrives. And Penelope, put down that book at once. You shall confuse your thoughts.
That's kind of similar. Again, we have this new feminism power thing. So like the women getting their degrees and becoming educated is super important. But when you're out partying or you're trying to woo a man in these situations, it's about the vibe and the energy. We don't want to overthink, we don't want to critically deconstruct some, social system while we're hanging out in this group of people, because by doing that, we're going to insult someone in this group of people. I added this one, even though it's kind of specific, but like in Bridgerton, you see a lot of these snide comments that are supposed to be insults. They're supposed to be insults, but they sound like compliments. That's straight up just called passive aggressiveness. That's passive aggression. And that is also happening in this situation, right? That's Regina George, the mean girl, being like, oh my God, I love your dress, right? And then being like, that's the worst dress ever. Everyone hate her and make fun of her now. That's passive aggression, or you could call it feminine aggression. If we're saying there is masculine aggression, then feminine aggression exists as well. In Bridgerton or, high society, there's an immense amount of pressure to perform, right? To get the highest grades, to graduate, to find the best job and the best social status. And a lot of this pressure comes from the parents, actually. And parents who are oftentimes emotionally distant. And that happens both in high court and in Bamarush. There's an immense amount of pressure being put on these kids that we're not seeing on this documentary that is being put on them by their family, by their parents. In Bridgerton or, in court, the hosting of a ball is a position of power, right? Hosting the first ball of the season. Well, hosting the first party or mixer in court, I'm literally mixing them up now, in Greek life, is also a position of power, right? Being the one to hold the parties is a position of power. We can see that in the fact that fraternities can have alcohol inside their dorms, whereas sororities cannot, which means that gives fraternities the power to host parties because they have the thing you need for parties, which is alcohol. And then lastly, I put etiquette coaches and teachers. Absolutely, back in these times, there were etiquette teachers that would teach the women how to do all the things and the fan flirting and everything, and there were literally rush consultants for these women. I doubt, it probably exists, but I would be curious how many of the men are getting consultants for rushing, right? Like, I'd love to get the documentary about this on the men, but we won't. We won't get that because they probably won't find people that would be willing to do it. All right. Title card.
Okay, all the rumors are flying around here at Bama about HBO or Netflix. Supposedly it's HBO that has about 20 girls they're paying, and the girls will be mic'd up going through Rush.
This is what we're dealing with. And not only is there a New York Times article about this idea, later in the day, we received a letter from the president of the University of Alabama, and he CC'd me and basically the feds.
All right, so the last section here, I just wanted to give some of my own personal feedback and experience about what happened in this documentary. So I did find it really interesting and kind of affirmed some of my ideas in this video that when the Bama president reached out to the director of the documentary film to ask about whether they were about to be filming, in the houses, they CC'd the FBI. I'm sure they would be able to justify, like, well, if you were filming inside, that you could be filming people who are maybe like nude or, things that people don't want to be filmed and that's illegal. And so we're gonna, CC the FBI or whatever, since it goes across state lines. I don't know why, but the fact that they did bring the FBI into it to me seems like evidence, right? Seems like whoever the president of Bama is probably went to Bama and probably got all the good connections he needed. Like some at the FBI, because I don't know why you would get the FBI involved if there wasn't the potential for things getting out that these people don't want to get out. You know what I mean? Just a little rant. Alabama is not even one of the most prestigious colleges that has a mechanism, an institutional mechanism like the machine. There's Princeton, there's Harvard, right? There's other colleges. There's colleges in England. There are other colleges that their sorority, fraternity system or whatever would literally think that these Alabama people are peasants to them because of the amount of money that they are dealing with. Even within the upper echelons, there are class statuses, and I'm not claiming to know exactly where Alabama state is on that line. I know the Rothschilds are going there. Let's just put it that way, okay? So we have Rachel Flight. She's the director I did get the vibe that there was some vicariously living through some of these girls through this documentary experience. There is a moment, she is a bald woman because she has alopecia and has been that way for most of her, for all of her life as far as I'm aware. And so her story was part of the narrative in this documentary. I don't know if that was initially her intention, because typically as a documentary creator, that is a form of creating documentaries where you're also on screen, but that wasn't how she was filming from the beginning. I will admit, she told her story about how she finally was able to, in college, take the wig off, and she's never put it back on. And then some things leaked about her filming this documentary, and people who are in the machine, or who have been in the machine, and like the president, right, that sent her the letter from the FBI, started attacking her on social media, and it actually got very dangerous. And so to be able to film the rest of the documentary, she had to put the wig back on because she was filming in a small town in Alabama, and she stood out, having been there for a year, and she said she was the only bald woman that she had seen that whole year.
Now that this New York Times article has named me, I'm really paranoid. Like everywhere I go, I'm looking over my shoulder. Our producers are requiring that we hire a security detail to be with the film's crew at all times because they're actually concerned for our physical safety at this point. Because if you Google Rachel Fleet, the first image that comes up is of a bald girl, and I haven't seen another bald girl in Tuscaloosa since I started filming here a year ago. And if I'm gonna keep filming with my subjects, I don't know what to do. Do I need more curls?
And I will admit, I literally like started screaming and like being like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't let these bitches make you put the wig back on. Don't do it, right? As someone who has my own wig trauma, I'm like yelling at the screen like I'm fucking watching don't do it. I'm watching the Super Bowl or something. Don't put the wig back on. I was pissed. I was emotionally invested in that moment, right? And I think why it was is because that moment shows how much power these institutions and structures actually have, where based on a rumor that wasn't true, they were able to directly psychologically affect this woman, right? And get her to have to do something that she had never ever planned on doing again in her life, right? She had said she had never put the wig back on since college. She's probably in her late 40s or whatever, right? And for this documentary, she put it back on so she could film the rest of it. And there's a very cathartic moment when she takes it off at the end again, where she's like, oh, like, thank God, right?
It's good to be back.
And like, that was good. I needed that moment. But still, it just sat in my soul like deep, the fact that these people were able to force her to have that experience just to be able to tell these women's stories. And I just thought that was kind of profound, something that stood out to me. We have Haley Holiday, which is one of the main subjects. For my personality typers, I typed her as an ESFP. She seems to maybe have had, right, maybe a little bit of a rough childhood, and maybe not the financial backing that some other, pretty blondes in the story did. She ends up finding out in the story that she has been blacklisted from all the sororities. Now, given everything that we've just learned about what is important to Greek life, my guess, and also things that she said something about like other girls had gone upstairs at fraternity parties and they didn't, and like that tipped me off of like, ooh, I think you might have fraternized with a frat boy or put herself in a compromising situation with a high value frat boy. And that got around, and so she was blacklisted. That's my theory of probably what happened there, given what information she shared and given the vibes I got from her and her personality type and some of the things that she is struggling with. Then you had Michaela, who was the black girl. Loved her. She was probably one of my favorites. I was so glad when she was like, no, I don't want to do this, and quit. Oh my God, I was so glad. I was like, get out. Watching her story and the clips of her with her very southern white coach.
Super important that you look friendly, engaging, and really excited to be doing this video. Smiling the entire time you're talking. It's a necessary evil. So.
Hi, my name is Michaela Miller. I'm going through recruitment as a sophomore. Authenticity is my #1 core value. I don't know about this place. It seems like a store my mom would like, though.
And she now sort of looks like a Disney princess.
A Disney princess, but taking it and wrapping it so you get some tension and keeping it straight. That's pretty comfortable, isn't it? It's not bad. You can sleep with that and not look too crazy. Beautiful.
I need to empty this out.
It felt like the colonizing was like directly going into her, right? Like it wasn't they were directly colonizing her like in real time in this documentary, and I was just so glad when and also at no point did she look excited to like be a part of this. Like be a part of, and when she was describing like the chants and cheers that like the different dorms do outside on the steps, right? And she just looks so repulsed of like, oh God, it's just so much. Like I would never want to do that, right? And so I was so glad when she quit. She gives me ISFP vibes, but she definitely gives me like FI in the top 2 functions vibes. Yay, Michaela, for quitting. Haley, the one I talked about before that, she also did quit, and I think that was probably good for her as well. People coming into this type of scenario, not protected by the fact that they are already a narcissist, they're gonna get eaten up alive. You're either gonna conform or you're gonna get eaten up alive. And that, again, having been through this trauma in my life, I feel for these girls, these women. You also had Isabella. I think Isabella was my second favorite. Yeah, she's my second favorite. I typed her as an INFJ. She gives me INFJ energy, a little bit of roundness for the FE, but like there's like an elongated aspect or like alien aspect in like facial typing when it comes to like introverted intuition and extroverted feeling. It's maybe a pattern that I've noticed, but like I feel like I can spot an INFJ woman like a mile away. There's just like an essence about them that kind of transcends in the patterns of this archetype. We'll get into more of that later, right? You go back and watch my Prime Alchemy series if you're wondering more about personality types. This is for my personality type people, my union people that are interested in this, or maybe you become interested because you want to know what these things mean. Isabella, I typed her as an INFJ. I felt for her, right? This is the one that got sexually assaulted 2 weeks before rushing. I feel like that wasn't enough time to go into such another kind of traumatic situation, which is rushing, right? To get assaulted and then rush 2 weeks later. I do think that was probably, though, for her, a good situation because she rushed, she got her top house, which I think is Alpha Beta Pi or something like that. But I do think that trauma is probably going to come back to haunt in the future. And I just really hope that her bigs, which are other sorority girls that are older that kind of help you, guide you in. I just really hope she actually has decent ethical bigs. She is fucking gorgeous, right? She already has eating issues, eating disorders, and other insecurities that she's bringing with her. I really just hope she has the support system around her that she needs, because if not, that is 1 out of the 4 that I think the machine would eat alive. But also one that if she wants to play the game and performs well, she could really social climb, really climb that social mountain. She'll marry well. Let's just put it that way. I said, this is a comparison, right, to Bridgerton, so I'm allowed to speak in that kind of language, right? In Bridgerton, they would say something like, oh, she's very beautiful, she will marry well, It's a compliment. The last one would be Shelby Rose. She's an ESFJ, right? That FE is just there from the beginning. Like it's just there. Like you could just see it, right? It makes me kind of excited. I actually love FE dominance, even though, again, in the context of my videos, it may seem like I'm harsh on them, but FE dominance bring me so much joy. Yeah, I was really scared if she did not get picked because it seemed like the desire in which she had to be in a sorority, I felt like she needed to get that, because if she didn't, I felt like it might break her. Yeah, it might break her. I don't know, but I'm just saying the intensity in which she wanted this thing, if she did not get it, I would have probably cried for that girl, because she would have been, if you saw her reaction when she found out what house she was in, it was like, oh my God, it was like this girl just won $1 billion, or I don't know, the joy coming out of this girl's face. Even though I hate the structure, it sucks. Shelby is probably the one person in that documentary that was absolutely built for it and could possibly come out on top in that situation. All right. This probably ends up being a long video, but I'm coming back from taking a break from making content and doing a shit ton of healing and research. And I'm just in I'm evolving. I'm healing. I'm finding more of myself, and I'm going to try doing things in kind of different structures. I'll have a script when I need to, like, you know, teach hard theories and concepts. I have notes, but I'm gonna shy away from feeling too rigid. I don't like to be too rigid. I want to be myself. I want to be myself, and I want to present this information how I would present it and not how I think it needs to be presented for people to feel like I'm respectable enough to listen to. I'm not playing that game anymore, and I'm just going to be me. Let's see how that goes. The algorithm can suck a dick. Thank you very much for watching. Please check out some of the other content on my channel. I am going to be doing lots more videos that are like this, where I'm going to take pieces of media and bring all of these theories and concepts and ideas in psychology and philosophy and apply them. I have many ideas. I'm not mentioning any of them. You guys are going to have to wait, but there are some definitely other topics. I have probably 3 or 4 other scripts. I have so many other scripts written. I've been writing a lot. I will probably also be doing live streams, like in companionship with the videos coming out. I will not be keeping any sort of set schedule. I'm not even apologizing for it. The algorithm does not control me. I am an anarchist. I do not believe in unconsensual authority. And the algorithm doesn't control me. So I'm just gonna put out content, I'm not calling it content anymore. Documentaries are art. My opinion, my ideas. I'm only gonna share them like when I want to and about the topics I want to. I'm working on my own, you know, over responsibility and guilt and codependency and other things that will come up in these videos. And part of that means that I don't have to hold the heavy guilt of being responsible for teaching people things. I'm gonna say that on this video because there might be another person through the screen that needs to hear that you don't have to be responsible for healing other people or taking care of people all the time. You can also take care of yourself. There's lots of people in the world. They can also help take care of other people, right? They can also do their own healing. Yeah. So that puts me in this new place, and hopefully y'all like it. And if you don't, great. That's great too. Hit the unlike button. Great. That's engagement, I think. Do the YouTube things. Thank you for watching. This has been Brittany with Disruptive Philosophy. This was my video on Bamarush and comparing that aspect of society to the royal court and Bridgerton. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If there are more similarities that you notice between the two, please let me know down below. Anything you found interesting, share it with me. I always check the comments, and we'll see you in the next one. Yeah, have a great night. It's night for me. Have a great day, whatever it is for you. Have a great one. And live in love. Try to live in love. Bye.